Step into a new world of gaming, where you not only play, you become. Embark on a quest to save the evil serpent lurking in the innermost depths of the dungeon. Create a mighty band of adventurers, each having unique powers. A fearless warrior, a cunning thief, a wizard with mystical powers, and an enchanting mystic. While fighting skills are vital, Swords and Serpents will stretch your mind and your imagination as you explore the dungeons, searching for the trappings of the legendary Ruby Warrior. You'll confront challenges and decisions at every turn. Will you fight? Will you run? Which of your inventory of strength, experience, and magical powers will you use? The serpent is coiled, ready to strike, but you are the master of your destiny. Will you rise to the challenge? No NES game has gone this far before. That is the back of the box of Swords and Serpents, a dungeon crawling D&D-esque NES title. What really makes this one stand apart, though, is that unlike most dungeon crawlers for the NES, Swords and Serpents was actually designed for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and not just some crappy port like most of the other dungeon crawlers on the system. In this dungeon crawling role-playing game, you take control of 4 adventurers, and you can use their pre-made group that the game already has set up for you, or make your own and try to find your way through the many layers of the dungeon. Inside will be some NPCs, lots of monsters, traps, puzzles, and plenty of you getting lost. You will also find upgrades for your armor or weapons, new spells, and amass a fortune in gold as you fight your way through. Now, of course, this is a Nintendo Entertainment System RPG, and that means that much of the adventure will depend on your imagination as you search the maze like Labyrinth, but the visuals that are in the game, I think, are pretty top-notch for an NES title. Of course, as you can see, the game is in first person throughout the adventure, and although there were a few games like this, the Wizardry series comes to mind. This one, in my opinion, is one of the better looking dungeon crawlers for the NES, and it does a good job of keeping things interesting with the layout of the dungeon. Of course, to survive, you will need to grind a bit, which you will likely do, honestly, out of accident as you try to explore and learn your bearings and find the secrets. And there is a temple area you can go to on the 1st, 5th, and 10th floor that you can revive your dead companions and refill everybody's life and mana so you can keep grinding or keep exploring. And your mages or wizards will start with a heal spell and a fire attack, but all other spells must be found within the dungeon. Most of the time, you will find new items by simply walking over a certain tile, and it will tell you what you have found. Also, many letters and hints and tips will be littered across the dungeon as well, but it certainly doesn't hold your hand. Like most titles during this time frame, it takes some experimentation to get used to the way everything works, but nothing is very complicated, and overall, Swords and Serpents is an enjoyable old-school dungeon crawler that if you like these types of games, you would likely enjoy it even today. The largest issue that really dates this game is the save system. It uses the dreaded and hated password system, but one for each of your characters, so writing all of that down would truly be a mess. Thankfully, there are many ways to play Swords and Serpents that would allow you to create a save state instead. If you owned this game back in the day, then let me take you down a nostalgic journey, because now I want to take a look through the instruction manual with you. So enjoy. Instruction manuals used to be so special. They were full color, sometimes with glossy pages, much like this one, and I hope you can see the glory as I go through the pages here with you, because there's a lot to see here. First up is kind of the introduction. You know, you're sitting in your car, you're on your way home with your new game, and this is mainly just to get you hyped up. So it's dark, it's dangerous, it's deadly, and you and your party are about to go down there. It's the haunted maze of the terrible serpent, and it goes on and on. I don't have to read the whole thing, but very cool. And remember, if you're interested in reading the entire page, you can always pause as I'm going through these. I just want to kind of run through them. Now here it does show the kind of female, looks like a warrior type here, and then it gives you some information about preparing for your quest, so you know how to put the cartridge into your NES and start it up. Now it does go into here, it starts talking about the number of players. So another interesting thing about this game is you could play up to 4 players if you had the adapter thing to do 4 controllers, and it does ask that at the beginning of the game actually. Now if we move on to this next section here, you'll see that it's going on about how to play 4-player, and there it does mention mention the attachment that you need, which is the NES satellite or other NES licensed 4-player adapters, so that you can do that. And of course, there will be a leader. The leader does actually move everybody through the dungeon, and then that would be player 1, and the other 3 players just kind of control their characters during battle, and you know, inventory management and that kind of thing. And then it goes on to explain about saved games, and it does say that you'll not be able to finish a game in one sitting, but you don't want to give up all the time it's taken you, and that's why it allows you to save games. Now, if we move to the very next page, it goes into the horrible save system. So the thing is, it's bytecodes. You know, there's no battery pack in here. I'm assuming that when this game came out, that either wasn't a thing or they didn't think it would be worth the extra cost in every single cart to do that. But as you can see, it does save your inventory, your experience levels, your spells, blah, 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 all right there. And then it goes into how you can use the existing characters, which is the ones that they basically made. Comes with 1 warrior, 2 magicians, and a thief, and they're already named and everything. Or you can make your own party like I talked about before. Now, I thought this was funny. There at the corner, it starts talking about what is a role-playing game. If you've been playing video and electronic games for very long, you may have heard the acronym RPG. It stands for role-playing game. Most role-playing games take place in medieval times when wizardry, magic, and exotic beasts ruled the land. And then on the next page, it goes into when you enter an RPG, you take on the role of a certain character or party of characters. In Swords and Serpents, you actually play the roles of 4 characters, or you can create your own unique characters. As you wander through the dungeon, you will be on a quest for the 7 treasures of the Ruby Warrior, and throughout your journey, you will fend off throngs of monsters. By defeating them, you will gain money and experience, both invaluable in role-playing games. And then it goes on to explain what you can do with money, etc. I just thought that was pretty cool. And then, you know, I thought this was pretty interesting here because, you know, if you look at it, it says here's the 3D viewing section, and then you have your map display, and then you have your character status, and it kind of breaks everything down, explains the monster's health points and about your spell meter and all those kind of things. And then it breaks down the actual controls for the NES controller. It just looks so classic. I love that little snake logo there. I just love the way these instruction manuals used to look. And then they go on to talk about join the party. So it goes into stats, basically strength, intelligence, agility, health, spell points. And then it goes on to explain how experience points and levels work. So, you know, leveling up and all that kind of thing. So it does explain that as well. And according to this, it looks like the max level, at least according to this, is level 16. This is very D&D feeling. It does take a while to level up in this game. It's not one where you just kind of bust your way through the levels quickly. And then they start breaking down the professions. So the warrior, the thief, the magician, and then on the next page, we go into attributes where you can go in the menus and you can kind of check, you know, how you're doing on your different attributes and on each character. And then it starts talking about the monsters. And this is really cool, and I bet you a lot of people who play this game don't know these little tricks. So for example, you can just attack, but you can also attack the monster's head if you hold the up arrow and then press the A button, and you can attack the monster's body if you press right or left when you press the A button, or its legs by pressing down. And then it goes on to say it's more difficult to hit a monster's head, but it will do more damage if successful. And I bet you that's one of those things, if you didn't have an instruction manual, you probably didn't even know you could do that. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to the members of Napalm. Thanks to your contributions, this channel is able to produce the content and get the equipment and gear necessary to keep this channel alive and improving. Thank you. And if you are interested in becoming a member of the channel and helping support my YouTube journey, please click join down below for a list of options starting as low as $1.99 per month. Please, I'm hungry. And I want to give a very special shout out to the Lords of Napalm, Bounty Code, We Toke Bitcoins, Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, Farthest Reach, Not Sid, Sparrow, Carsony, Christopher Hensel. Thank you for your highest tier membership. Now on to the video. Also, it goes into golden opportunities. So after defeating a party of monsters, you will be awarded gold and experience. The gold can be used to buy armor and weapons at various shops located throughout the dungeon. You'll run into those, as I talked about before. Then it talks about experience levels, so leveling up and casting spells, and there's even a way to run from monsters. So here it shows that you can press the select button during combat, and you'll be given 3 options: run, fight, and all run. And then it explains there are 16 levels. So 16, you go deeper and deeper in this dungeon. So there are 16 floors basically in this huge dungeon. And then it talks about mapping it out. And this is where it gets really interesting. So it explains how to make a map and how you can use different letters like T for temple, A for armory, etc. And then it goes on to explain a couple things like zoom tubes and stairs and teleporters. And then it goes on to show all the spells. And I think this is actually all the spells that are actually in the entire game, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. So you kind of know what they do, because that text really isn't in the game. Back in the day, they kind of expected you to have an instruction manual to guide you. So some things wouldn't be in the game. It was just kind of a waste of text, which was a waste of precious storage back then. I mean, each NES cartridge could only hold so many kilobytes. So you can imagine they really had to squeeze things in. A lot of times they put that information in the instruction manual. And then it goes on to talk about weapons and armor and inventory items, and it breaks down some of the swords and some of the gear that you can get. And then it talks about the difference between temples and shops. As you can see, this is like a full-on, here's how you play our game. I mean, I loved it back when they used to do these instruction manuals. Then it talks about wizards and playing one and what that's like. And then it kind of gives you another teaser about, for centuries, no one has ever successfully challenged the serpent of the dungeon, or if they have, they haven't lived to tell about it. But your party may be the one to make it. You have the iron strength of a great warrior, the cunning agility of a thief, and the great magical powers of a wizard and a mystic. His hope is that you won't find all the pieces left by the Ruby Warrior. His hope is that without the collective power of those artifacts, you'll be trapped in his confines forever. But you have hopes of your own. Stronger hopes, grander hopes, purer hopes. So go forth, gather your strength, feel the collective power, because deep beneath the tangled, treacherous layers of the dungeon, the serpent lies waiting for all of you. Very cool. And then, here's what I really like. Now, there's going to be some drawings in here, but if you look, they actually put the maps for level 1 in here. You can see some people's actually scratched and put some more information in there as well. But you can see that map 1 is there, and then map 2 is someone has filled that one out themselves, map 3, and it goes on and on. But the intention here, as I'm going to show here, was that you made your own maps and your own notes, and that way you could kind of figure out where everything was and make your own map, which is super cool. Love the good old days of RPGs. And then of course we have here an Acclaim special offer right here at the back of the book, where you could get you could send this in and with a little bit of money and get you an Acclaim Masters of the Game t-shirt. I wonder what would happen. I bet you that office isn't even there anymore. But if it were, if Acclaim still had some kind of office there, I wonder what would happen if you sent this in today. That would be very interesting to do. This was a very nostalgic look at Swords and Serpents, which I think is a very cool, old school dungeon crawler RPG. And if you played it, I really just wanted to kind of tickle your nostalgia nerves a bit here and make you feel good. And if you haven't played it, then I wanted to kind of give you an insight into what this game is all about. There's plenty of ways you can easily play this game. It's not a very expensive game if you want to go out and grab the real cartridge. It's not one of those where it's laying around everywhere, but they can be gotten if you're interested. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the episode today where we took a look at an old school role-playing game, an old RPG, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit that like button, and comment down below what you think. Have you played this game before? Have you played others like it? Is there a game you would like me to cover next that's like an old school RPG type game that you would love to see me cover in this fashion in the future? Let me know anything you want to talk about in the comments down below. Hit that like button. Those things help me fight the YouTube algorithm. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming.